Every time a major accident has occurred, the government has tightened regulations and called on bus operators and travel agencies to step up safety measures. Professor Seiji Abe of Kansai University specializes in transport safety. He says the regulations currently in place fall short of ensuring 100% safety for passengers, and unfortunately, they are not strictly adhered to. He says the Transport Ministry must thoroughly investigate whether this fatal bus accident resulted from a weakness in the current safety regulations, and if they require a major overhaul.
Beef cutlets and chicken cutlets. A curry house tasked the Daiko company with disposing of food items unsuitable for sale, but Daiko allegedly passed them on to buyers instead. And today, new allegations have come to light on roast cutlets and minced cutlets among the illegally sold items. A representative in charge of transactions at a food company says they bought chicken cutlets and minced cutlets. A representative of the firm based in Hashima Gifu Prefecture tells the media they bought cutlets that had been sold to them illegally. The Ichibanya company commissioned the Daiko company to dispose of about 40,000 products which were to have been sent to the Koko Ichibanya curry house chain. Frozen beef curry products are believed to have been contaminated with products not suited for human consumption. Dubious beef cutlets and chicken cutlets continued circulating on the market. Today, Gifu authorities raided Minori Foods in Gifu Prefecture who had bought the illegally sold cutlets. They were looking for any unsold dubious food. The representative of the company in charge of the transactions at Minori Foods, Masao Okada, tells NHK that in addition to the beef and chicken cutlets, they bought roast cutlets and minced cutlets from Daiko. He says they bought 150 to 200 boxes of roast cutlets and other products at a time and sold them to individuals and companies. The Minori representative says the Daiko company told them they would like to keep this a secret if they can, but now he is sorry for what he did. The Ichibanya company says it commissioned the disposal firm Daiko to get rid of 6 products. Beef cutlets, chicken cutlets, roast cutlets, and minced cutlets. Spaghetti Napolitana sauce and some soup for ramen noodles. Ichibanya offered these products exclusively to the shops within its chain, so it says if the products are in distribution, the disposal firm, Daiko, might have been selling them illegally. Ichibanya says the food might not have been stored at the right temperature under the right conditions. It is warning consumers not to eat any of these products under any circumstances. Aichi Prefecture and Gifu Prefecture officials say the Ichibanya products should not normally go into circulation on the open market. They believe the Ichibanya products might have been resold on numerous occasions in the past.
In Taiwan, voters will go to the polls tomorrow to choose a new president. The election is seen as a showdown between Eric Chu of the ruling Kuomintang, or Nationalist Party, and Tsai Ing-wen of the opposition Democratic Progressive Party. Incumbent President Ma Ying-jeou was first elected in 2008 and is barred from seeking a third term under the Constitution. The key issue in this election is Taiwan's relations with China. Chu is calling for the continuation of Ma's policy of expanding ties with the mainland. Chu says the whole world wants there to be peace between China and Taiwan and stability for the region. Chu says that if he is elected, he will be able to set people's minds at ease. Tsai is critical of what she says is the undue haste to expand Taiwan's links with China. She says it could have negative repercussions for Taiwan's identity and democracy. If elected, she will become Taiwan's first female president. Tsai says she intends to maintain the status quo. She says she will pursue both peace and development. This evening, the two parties are making their final appeal to voters ahead of tomorrow's election.
Our reporter Tomoki Matsuda is in Taiwan. So how are things over there as Taiwan enters the last moments of the campaign, and will a change of administration take place? So far, surveys show that Tsai Ing-wen of the Democratic Progressive Party has a large lead over Eric Chu of the Kuomintang. Through my coverage of the campaign, what I'm hearing is that Tsai is dominant. Behind me, Tsai will hold from 8 p.m. her final rally. Many supporters have gathered, mainly young people. The strengthening of economic ties with China, which the ruling Kuomintang highlights as one of its achievements, brought great benefits to the Taiwanese economy. However, at the same time, the wealth gap has widened, and China's increasing influence over Taiwan is causing anxiety and discontent among citizens, especially the young generation, boosting the Democratic Progressive Party's popularity. This election has become an occasion for the Taiwanese people to rethink what distance Taiwan wants to maintain between China, and the outcome of tomorrow's election will be closely watched, as it is likely to have bearing on affairs in East Asia and relations with Japan.
Preparations are underway across Japan for standardized college entrance examinations set to start tomorrow. Those taking the exams are advised not to use certain items during the tests. The use of smartwatches, for example, will be banned. If examinees use them, it will be seen as an act of cheating. More than 560,000 people across the country plan to take the exams this weekend. Some of them visited their test sites today. This person says he believes he will score high marks if he can fully demonstrate his ability. Another says he visited his test site to check the route from his home and that he is nervous ahead of the exams. The operator of the exam says examinees will not be allowed to use mobile phones or smartphones during the test to prevent cheating. If they take these phones to their test rooms, they will need to turn them off and put them in their bag. Use of smartwatches will also be banned, but examinees will be allowed to keep ordinary watches on their desks. Using scales and compasses will constitute cheating. If examinees' clothes bear English words or maps, they may be asked to take them off or wear them inside out. Those taking the exams are advised to carefully read the rules governing the tests in advance. How will the weather be this weekend? Snow is expected in northern Japan and Hokuriku. It will be mostly sunny on the Pacific coast tomorrow, but on Sunday rain is likely in many areas. The operator of the entrance exams is advising examinees to leave for their test sites early. It is also calling on them to stay calm and call the telephone numbers printed on their exam admission slips if transportation services are delayed. If that occurs, the operator says it will consider moving back the exam starting time.
In the Diet, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has said he intends to work to promote a national debate on amending the Constitution in order to respond to massive disasters. He said it is extremely important to discuss how an emergency response to disasters should be incorporated into the Constitution. Abe was speaking at a question and answer session in the Upper House Budget Committee. Michihiro Ishibashi of the Democratic Party criticized the government plan to make one-time payment of 30,000 yen, which is included in the supplementary budget for this year. He says the Liberal Democratic, Komeito, and Democratic parties reached agreement to make payments of 60,000 yen per year to people with low pension incomes, using revenue from the consumption tax after it is raised to 10%. He says the three parties had agreed that the measure should start from next year. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe says it would be good if the permanent payment were to be implemented from April, but it would need 600 billion yen to implement it. He says his party told voters during the 2014 general election that it would do its best to introduce such a measure. The LDP's Satsuki Katayama says Japan faces a high risk of massive volcanic eruptions and megaquakes that might occur underneath a big city. She says Japan's constitution does not include any provisions relating to emergency responses to such disasters. Abe says it is very important to discuss what role should be assumed by the state and the public in protecting people's safety in the event of an emergency, and how this should be incorporated in the constitution. He says public understanding is essential for amending the constitution. He says he will work to promote a national debate to help deepen public understanding of the concept of a constitution for a new era. Executive members of the Upper House Budget Committee agreed that an intensive session next Tuesday will be attended by Abe.
Now the news in brief. The number of people who killed themselves in Japan fell below 25,000 last year for the first time in 18 years. Japanese police say 23,971 people across the country committed suicide in 2015. That's down 1,456 or 5.7% from the previous year. The number of suicides peaked in 2003 at over 34,000, but in the past 4 years, the figure has remained under 30,000. The head of an anti-suicide nonprofit organization says in Japan, 60 to 70 people on average take their own lives every day. He says the public and private sectors need to understand it's an ongoing emergency situation. He says they also need to work together to quickly step up preventative measures.
The National Institute of Infectious Diseases has announced that a nationwide influenza epidemic has broken out. Officials say that in the week through January the 10th, 9,964 cases of flu were reported by about 5,000 medical institutions around the country. The number of flu patients per institution was 2.02. The threshold for declaring an epidemic is 1. This is the first time in 9 years that the start of an epidemic has been announced in the new year. A researcher at the Institute, Tomimasa Tsunagawa, says the epidemic is likely to peak in February. He suggests that people should be vaccinated.
This neighbor says she never thought something like this would take place, so she's surprised. The 22-year-old man allegedly pressed cigarettes against the feet of his 1-year-old baby. He has been arrested on suspicion of inflicting injury. Takuma Kajiwara is an employee of an adult entertainment shop in Hakata Ward, Fukuoka City. According to police, he denies pressing the cigarettes against the baby and says he believes the injuries took place when the baby was crawling. The baby has multiple burns and scrapes. Police are investigating the case on suspicion of abuse.
On the 6th day of the January Grand Sumo Tournament, Ozeki-ranked Koto Shogiku is in good shape. Today he was up against Shohoza.